So if you guys want to see this video, you're gonna have to go to my Rumble video page right below this video, because as you know, YouTube is gay.
Oh, you are genuinely stupid. I do apologize.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bridge the Divide, where I examine irrational beliefs, the irrational behaviors that often follow, and how we, with education, rationality, and reason, can bridge the societal divides that they create. Today, we're going to take a look at a video from the channel Shock of God. Shock of God is a Christian nationalist YouTuber and motorcycle fanatic who films himself puttering around on his motorcycle while randomly bantering about how much he hates atheists, how he thinks they're all stupid, and how he believes that they're the source of all the problems in the world.
You want to tick off the atheists, you want to show them how stupid atheism is, you're going to ask them these 6 questions. Because what I'm going to say on this video makes atheists look so completely stupid. And I am also going to prove that as evil as Hamas is, atheists are far more evil. That's right.
He's also over on Rumble, where he posts more of his extreme views, which include stuff like alt-right conspiracies and anti-vax rhetoric, because apparently YouTube is just too liberal and left to handle him. And his videos being taken down has absolutely nothing at all to do with him constantly violating the terms of service.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
And all of this, of course, without providing a single shred of evidence to back up any of the silly random claims that he makes. Now, in this particular video, Shock presents what he calls the Shock of God Challenge, which, as he explains, is a question that he has been posing to atheists for well over 15 years that they simply can't seem to answer. So let's jump in and hear the question that Shock claims has been infuriating atheists for almost 2 decades.
All right, folks, I've been challenging atheists for a long time to answer one simple question.
Awesome. I love answering questions, especially when it comes to matters of religion and philosophy. But the fact that the title of your video says that this question hasn't been answered in 15 years gives me a little pause. I know that theists and atheists alike have responded to the various claims you make in your videos over the years, both in video and comment form. So for you to claim that this particular question has not been answered in almost 2 decades can only mean one of 2 things. 1, any answers that you have received have not been framed within your worldview, and so you've rejected them out of hand. Or 2, you simply know that the question cannot be answered and you're just having a masturbatory laugh.
I told them we already got one.
Unfortunately for you, the first response indicates that you're merely begging the question about certain aspects of your worldview, and the second answer indicates that you're deliberately asking this question in bad faith. But you never know, I could be wrong. So let's hear this grand question, you old Sphinx of the Suzuki.
It's called the Shock of God Challenge.
Probably because I'll be shocked if this question is actually a challenge.
What proof and evidence can you provide that would finally, at last, prove that atheism is accurate and correct?
I suppose you think that was terribly clever.
Ah, I see. You've gone with option 2, asking atheists to prove a negative.
He chose poorly.
So for atheism to be absolutely true and accurate, that would mean that all God concepts, from classical deism all the way to Xenu, are in fact not true and inaccurate in describing reality. And while we can eliminate some gods from contention, like your biblical Abrahamic Christian God, because by definition those gods' attributes entail logical contradictions, which eliminate them from possible contention as logical contradictions cannot exist, there are some unfalsifiable God concepts that can neither be proven nor disproven. So ultimately, Shock, you're asking atheists who don't believe that a god or gods exist because such belief is irrational and unwarranted to demonstrate the non-existence of all possible God concepts because you're dishonestly framing atheism as something that is making an absolute claim about reality. This, of course, makes your question intellectually dishonest, and of course is still not evidence or justification in believing that any kind of God actually exists. Perhaps if you had asked a legitimate question, like, say, what is more rational or justifiable, theism or non-theism, that would certainly have been a better question, and I would have actually gotten the opportunity to wipe the floor floor with you. So I guess the challenge did kind of live up to its name, only instead of how not challenging the question was, my mind was actually challenged by how intellectually dishonest it was. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't lie to my audience. My mind wasn't challenged at all.
Now, atheists, let's see if you can answer it before I exit this tunnel.
Done and dusted. You've asked atheists if they can prove a negative, which is a stupid question from the start, and you're either asking it because you're trolling them, or you don't actually understand how atheists being unable to prove a negative is in no way evidence that your particular God exists. It just exposes your own argument from ignorance fallacy unless you yourself can demonstrate that your God exists, and not just with silly argumentation, but with actual evidence.
Here's the question again.
We heard you the first time, so there's really no need to repeat yourself. But hey, if you want to double down on your stupid question, be my guest.
I mean, I've been asking this question for over 15 years. No atheist has been able to answer it.
As explained for the reasons above, because it is a terrible question. I also suspect that you understand why it's a terrible question because you keep asking it. But seeing as how atheists are not making the positive claim that unfalsifiable God concepts absolutely don't exist, and are simply pointing out that belief in such things is irrational and therefore unwarranted, then of course you wouldn't get an answer to your question.
And we're almost out of the tunnel in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I personally found it kind of amusing that despite how confident he sounds, he still had to drag out that last second before exiting the tunnel.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm feeling generous.
He's still not out of the tunnel, by the way.
We're gonna loop back around and I'll give you guys another chance.
Another chance to hear your asinine question? Why? You already know that it's impossible to prove this negative, so why don't you ask a legitimate question? Maybe one that demonstrates that you've actually thought critically about any of these topics for at minimum 7 seconds of your life, which consequently is the actual amount of time it took you to get out of that tunnel. So we're gonna skip ahead a bit because the next part is just him asking the question again, then commenting on the traffic and the steepness of the tunnel, and then again mistiming his tunnel exit countdown.
Do you guys see any proof and evidence down below in the comment section?
I did check the comment section on your video, Shock, and of the 43 reported comments as of the time of this recording, 16 of those were from you, 19 of them were from your cheerleaders, and the last ones were from 2 people pointing out the same issues that I'm pointing out here, that your question is intellectually dishonest and only exposes your own argument from ignorance. And you, of course, never actually respond to any of those points. You just double down on your dishonesty and your misrepresentation of what atheism is, and then continue to shift your burden of proof by virtue of making a God claim to everyone else.
See, because I was an atheist and I left atheism because the lack of proof and evidence.
Yeah, Shock, I see you have a real problem with wording things correctly. Because if you were once actually an atheist, which personally I don't believe for a second, you would likely recognize how terrible your question is and you would never have asked it. Then again, it's entirely possible that you were an atheist and you were one for terrible reasons. The same way that you're a Christian now and for terrible reasons as well. It's like that quote from Shakespeare's tragedy, Romeo and Juliet. What's in a name? That which we call an idiot by any other name would reason as badly.
That atheism was accurate and correct. See, I became a Christian. At least Christianity has evidence, you know.
You serious?
I personally would love to critically analyze any evidence you'd like to put forward, because then at least you could demonstrate how you're not making an argument from ignorance fallacy to justify your claim.
Anyways, good luck. It's been 15 years and 0 atheists have been able to answer the Shock of God challenge.
Well, I can certainly see why.
Just so you know, it's not me, it's you.
Because you're asking a question that cannot be answered, which also in and of itself is not a justification to believe a God exists. Next time, Shock, if you're interested in actually exchanging ideas on this topic, or maybe getting some actual engagement on your channel, I would recommend not misrepresenting the other side of the argument, fully understanding the scope of the question that you're asking, and then not walking away as if you've won something when in fact all you've actually done is demonstrate your own dishonesty. Like I said, I'd be happy to examine any evidence you think you have. At least then we would be able to bridge the divide by having a productive conversation, instead of just me pointing out how you're deceiving your audience by taking advantage of their ignorance for your own profit. Because when both parties fully understand the position of each other, then we can make some real progress. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And be sure to leave a comment below. I love reading your reactions, and those interactions help with the dreaded algorithm. Don't forget, February is American Heart Month. A link on how you can support these important efforts is down in the description. And if you love scary movies, be sure to check out me and my filmmaker friends over at the Week in Horror podcast, now in our 5th season. Everything you need to become a channel member here, nab yourself some official Bridge the Divide gear, and official Darth, Dawkins, Squeak toy, or support the podcast is down in the description. Once again, I thank each and every single one of you for your continued support, and as always, be safe, be excellent to each other, and together we can bridge the divide.